Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing.
Welcome, everyone, to Morning Magazine for this January 6th, 2021. Your host, James J. Malouf here, and we are joined today by our friends from the Wood County Sheriff's Department, along with Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. We have joining us on the phone Sheriff Shawn Becker. Good morning, Shawn. Good morning. He may be there. We'll see. We'll find out. He likes to leave us in suspense. He's good with that. We also have joining us Chief Deputy Randy Dorshorst. Randy, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us, Randy. Appreciate the time. Thanks for being here. And we have, of course, our friend Kev from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Good morning to them, and we appreciate them joining us. We'll see if Sheriff Shawn Becker will be able to join us on the phone here or not. We'll go, it looks like we might have him joining us now. Good morning, Sheriff Becker. Are you with us?
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm with you.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Good to have you with us, sir. How have you been?
I've been doing great. I just got done with a meeting, and I wanted to call in. Do you have Randy with you?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. How is he? Is he sweating? Is he nervous?
Not at all.
What?
Not at all. I know. I was
cool
expecting
as
it too.
ice.
He's cool as ice over here. We got Aaron Rodgers sitting across from me over here.
Aaron Rodgers. I thought more like Bart Starr at that age.
Speaking of age, that is one of the things we're going to be getting into today, as Randy is going to be retiring at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Before we get into all of that, first, we haven't gotten to talk in a while. I wanted to catch up with all of you guys. Did you have a good set of holidays, Shawn?
Yeah, we had a great holiday season. Obviously, it's really different, just with the pandemic and everything. So we made our modifications. We still had our inner circle of our family get together, which that's what it's all about. And I appreciate you asking. Everything went well. Law enforcement wise, not many issues or concerns through the New Year's Eve time frame. So not anything really too bad. Things we worked well with others and got through it, and we're into a new year. Let's just hope 2021 is a better year. I know the pandemic's still out there, and always during this time frame that we're all going through it, it's not easy, but we got to recognize our folks over at the health department here in Wood County and all of our local medical professionals that are out there doing their best to keep us safe. We just got to keep doing our part, as we talked before. But no, how about you? How about you, James? Did Randy give you that card that we talked about?
I was just going to say thank you very much. Got myself a new Eric Lindros card here. That's awesome. I added to the collection. I appreciate that, sir. And good to hear.
You bet.
Good to hear about the holiday, not just for you guys and you and yours, but just in general in the community. That it was pretty successful for you guys is being bored, in a sense. So, Randy, how was it for you?
Good. Had a real good holiday.
Good to hear.
Kind of hung low with I don't really want to get COVID, so
yeah, low key is kind of the word for or the hyphened word for this time of year.
Getting adjusted quickly though.
Yeah, right. Well, that's kind of interesting that you bring that up, right? Because I'm curious to know a lot of jobs. If you're going into retirement, that's a world I don't know anything about. I have not. I couldn't be farther away from that as far as that goes. So,
sorry to hear that.
But what I would imagine, and knowing, thinking of my papa when he was retiring from, he drove semi for 40 years and that kind of thing. That last month is a weird area to be in. It's kind of a gray area for you and everything. Well, let's start there. What has it been like so far, kind of going into this, or as it's been leading up to this? As you know, it's your last month coming up and everything.
The last couple of weeks has been now. You're starting to see reality a little bit.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what to expect. I'll put it that way. So I worked since I had a job since I was 12 years old. So.
Right.
Now that I really don't have to be somewhere someday, that's going to be a big adjustment.
Yeah.
I'm kind of can't sit still the way it is, so it's going to be interesting.
Really? You couldn't sit still all throughout your career. Come on.
Shawn, I know that we wanted that when you join us, we have a number of things we usually touch on and everything. Today, we're spending our time with Randy and kind of talking about his career and why did that mean so much to you to do that today?
As I talked last month, when Randy, came to me and said it was time that he was going to retire, a lot of emotions for me came out too. But I know it's a big decision that Randy made with his family, with his wife Marjorie, and his kids. That it's the right time for him. Would I prefer that he stayed? Well, absolutely. But this is a choice that he's making. He's going out on top. I've been just so lucky to work with him, as a teammate. Starting back in 2000, we got hired around the same time, and just to reminisce on how the career started together. We both were on one shift, together, and I was thinking about it this morning. I think that shift that we started on nights with Sergeant Lee Garrows being our supervisor, I think Randy are the last two left from it. It kind of puts things in perspective. But then working together and building that, not only that working relationship at that time in 2000, but the friendship, evolved. I didn't know Randy before then, but once we start working together and we count on each other as law enforcement officers, that friendship, really starts to grow. And, the paths that we took, during our careers are very, very similar. Our first leadership, promotions were right around the same time. Then we're leading the shift. And then, essentially at the same time we get promoted to, investigators. And that's where, I think that our friendship really grew, because we worked a lot of cases together. We had about 5 years that we were investigators, and we worked a lot of cases together that, they could range from, burglaries to all the way up to homicide. And it's that relationship, really grew because you knew how we worked and how we worked together. And, it's that team aspect, that approach. It was just ideal. And then, then we got into the administrative roles, and people should, realize, with Randy, he's been overseeing the Sheriff's Department budget for, we talked about, I think, 11 years. And our budget, Scott, isn't like a $1,000 budget. It's a significant budget, up to around approximately $10 million, and he's managed that budget like it's his own. All right, he's very frugal, but he still always kept in mind public safety. He never cut that short, but he made sure that we stayed in budget, and people should know that. I mean, that's not something that should never go unlooked.
Yeah, agreed. And when it comes to what you guys do for a day in and day out basis for a living, it's already tough enough. You're going to add math into it. I mean, that ain't right. That's not fair. Serious note. You have a great point there, Shawn. It's so important to that part of things that we never talk about. And honestly, I did not know that. I was doing my homework on you, Randy, this week, and I didn't necessarily know that. That is something that's got to be a key part of what you've been doing over the last 10 years as far as putting into the community and what you've done in your position.
Yeah, well, if you look at just the numbers, if 11 years, just an average budget around $10 million, that's a lot of money that we've been we're accountable for to the taxpayers. And the way like I said, I think the best way I could tell people is he managed that money like it was, or that budget like it was his own personal budget, and that really resonated throughout the entire command staff, or all the way down. People understood that we cannot just be wasting the taxpayers' money. We have to. We're accountable, and Randy made sure that, and that's a big part of his career. But there's so many other things that Randy's been part of at the Sheriff's Department. Like I said, starting out as a deputy, and then just being a deputy and working as a training officer, getting onto our special response team. He's an instructor for boater safety, a firearms instructor, having that teaching role, especially young in our careers. Then we get to mentor the next generation that's coming up, and now I think we're like 3 or 4 generations ahead of everything. But it's how you're building your career, and Randy's built just an awesome career, and he's been just a perfect teammate throughout the whole organization. It doesn't matter what position you have if you're a deputy or a corrections officer or anything. I mean, he's the ideal teammate, and he knows every aspect of the sheriff's department, and it doesn't matter what division we have. He knows it. He knows everything. And
Yeah.
and that's just so important how he grew into that role, and it's going to be tough. I look at it, I'm so fortunate that, and it's not about me, it's about Randy, but that I got the opportunity to work with him for 20 years. And what is most special to me is the friendship that we developed throughout the years. Seeing our families grow up, and just the outside of work camaraderie where we just get to hang out and just be friends, and that's going to continue. That'll never get taken away. It's just I'm just so happy for him to have a 30-plus year career in law enforcement. I'm going to tell you, James, that's pretty rare. Now, when you get people that are getting into this career, a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier when I started to talk about the shift that we started on 20 years ago. Randy are the last two that are still working here at the sheriff's department, and that's kind of like a head scratcher. And Randy, I know, will agree with this. Went by pretty fast. It's all of a sudden we're here talking, and yeah.
I thank you so much, not only for giving us a real behind the curtain kind of look at so many details that you shared there with you and Randy's relationship, and just the relationship between officer and officer, getting a little idea of that. One of the things that I really appreciate you doing right there was jumping into a subject that I did not have necessarily a segue into, but I did want to touch on that. It is not, it cannot be taken lightly that you are choosing to retire and that you're able to retire, Randy, in the position that you're in and what you do for a living. Not at all to be morbid or dark about this or anything, but we all understand what our police officers, what our sheriff's department does, and what you guys put on the line every day. So the fact that you are choosing to, that as Shawn said earlier and everything, kind of going out on top, which in its essence, in this job, you're choosing to when you decide to retire, and that is. We're so thankful for that. You deserve that. All of our officers deserve that. We're glad that you can do that. But it is a good point to make by Shawn, and I think for all of us to make and to note that doesn't always happen, and it gives us all the more reason why we should take the time to be able to appreciate what our officers, what our department, our sheriff's department, all these guys are doing on a daily basis. What do you guys do on a daily basis? It doesn't always end this way.
No, and it's nice to the fact that. I can make the decision when I want to.
Yeah, and let's go from there, the ending, to the beginning. What made you want to do this for a living, being in law enforcement, and when did you know that you wanted to do this for a living?
It's kind of funny. It's something I've always wanted to do, but as soon as I graduated from high school, it's something I couldn't personally afford. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I went out and job market and got a job, and my father spent his whole year as a mechanic, so I worked with him all the time. That's all I knew. So I went and worked at a Chevy garage and a Ford garage, and while I was doing that, I was going to go back to school, and I still was couldn't really afford it too much at that point, but so I started saving up money to go back to school, and while I was working, it all started. Nowadays, you have to get a degree, then you have to get certified, then you have to get hired. Back then, it was a little different. You could get hired, and you have like so much time to get certified, and you didn't really need a degree back then, essentially. But if you wanted to get anywhere, you needed to. So what I did is I got the opportunity back in the early 80s. I got hired part-time. I applied and got hired part-time as a deputy for the sheriff's department here in Wood County. So I started working there. It actually was official day was March 30th, 1988. So I got hired there, and then I went to what they call Recruit Academy to get certified. So I got while I was working there part-time, I got certified, worked my full-time job. Then after about a year of that, I also took a part-time job at the Pittsfield Police Department. So there's sometimes there for a while there, I had a weekend off about every 6 months. So I would work 40 hours a week at my regular garage as a mechanic. I'd go to recruit school at night, and I'd take 2 classes a week. And I'd also work part-time when I had for the sheriff's department. I'll work part-time for the police department. So that went on till I got my certification. I got my degree about halfway done. Then I got hired in city of Mosinee as a police officer there, and I started in 1990, and I worked there. And through my time there, I finished my degree. So it was I had to take at night classes. So, and I had rotating shifts, so it was quite it's cumbersome at that point. We'll put it that way. So I worked there for 10 years, and I still was able to live here in Wood County. And then I've lived here my whole life. I didn't want to leave, and I thought, well, it's time. It was nice to start your career somewhere else. It really was. And so I worked there for 10 years, and then I come back in 2000. I applied and got hired here in 2000. So, and worked on the road for about 4 years, and then I got a promotion to a sergeant in the patrol division. So I had assigned a shift. I had one shift I was in charge of. I did that for somewhere around a year or so. Then there was an investigative sergeant opening, and I thought I would try that for a little while. So I got promoted to a investigator, and I did a little bit of everything, but the most significant thing that I focused on was I did sensitive crimes, like child abuse, sexual assaults, and things like that. Did that for about 5 years. And then I got promoted to the investigative lieutenant for the division. And I did that not very long, probably 7 months. And then chief deputy position come up. But it was an undersheriff then, and then they changed it to a chief deputy. So I took that job and been doing that since. And I really enjoy it. I really do.
How much did it mean to you to be able to do this particular job in your home area and your home field?
You know, that made it easier because you're always investing back in your community. You know, I always said, if you need to treat people the way you want to be treated. And the thing is, I live in this community. I'm part of this community. I don't want anybody to ever say, hey, I treated you unfairly, or worry about somebody, you know, after me because I did something. No, I've always treated everybody fair and exactly the way I want to be treated. And it made it very easy to live in the community with that thought process, should I say. So
yeah, that's a really good, especially to young people out there that are just getting or looking into getting into law enforcement. There's a great just a message right there. You know, it not only the karma of that, but just again putting back into the community, going back to that a bit and everything. That you're a citizen. It's something that Sheriff Shawn and I have talked about quite a bit and everything, where we're just, and you and I were even talking a little bit in the pregame about this, where it seems so silly to have to say this sentence, but humanizing you guys. You're human beings. We should not have to humanize you, but in 2021 and stuff, it's important that we do these things. So I appreciate you sharing that, but it's also just interesting, kind of, you know, it's not rocket science, but it adds up.
Yes, and I said, I'm going to live here. I'm going to be with everybody else. They respect you. You know, for a while there, you always get your little community law enforcement.
You got knuckleheads everywhere.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. I mean, made a lot of friends, and you know, everybody always says, "Well, it must have been really rough being a law enforcement officer or a cop." You know, for the most part, they says, "Oh, so many bad people out there." You know, it isn't that way. There's a lot more good people. There are bad people out there. And 95% of people I ran into and dealt with in my career, and I've had somewhat of through my whole career, I can't say there's anything I haven't been involved in. Anywhere from a homicide to a simple little theft. I've had pretty much everything. And for the most part, 95% of your people are just great people out there. And that's why it's like, especially this community, Wood County is just a great place to live, a great place to work, and I've really enjoyed it.
Unfortunately, the news tends to be like the opposite of what we do with photographs. We don't take photographs of bad moments, you know. We only take the good moments, and the news tends to do that with the news. They tend to only grab the catchy, you know, bad stories and everything. They don't give you the good stuff enough. We get way too much of that. So I see your point, and it's funny you say that. I know you're talking about Wood County and everything. I think about my old stomping grounds in Chicago, where you look at the news or something, and it tells you, oh, it's a war zone there or something like that. I walk down my old streets. There's bad people and everything, but there's more good than bad. There, especially the more downtrodden community you get, the more you get a knit community. There are so many parallels between South Chicago and Wood County, or town street around here or something that people wouldn't think, but they are there. You have to look a little bit. You have to do a little homework. You can't just take the news that's kind of given to you sometimes. And asking people, talking to actual real people, really goes a long way too with that. But to your point, as far as why you got into law enforcement and working in your own community, what were some of the goals that you had when you first started doing this job?
Early in my career, one thing I really liked to do was I enjoyed working with PR type things, public relations type things. So for about a stint there, about 7 years, when I worked up in the city of Mosinee, I was a D.A.R.E officer. I'm there familiar. If anybody's familiar with that, it's a drug abuse resistance education. So I got to work with kids. Did that for about 7 years, and that was just helping build our community to make better kids. And I can always things that always stuck in my mind through the years is different things I've had. I've had people who I've actually arrested and they went to prison. And while they're in prison, they wrote me a letter thanking me for what I've done for them by arresting them, and they've changed their life away. I remember a lady who it was a difficult situation where basically I had to arrest her, take her to jail, and she was separated from her child. And while she was in prison, they got reconnected, and even she sent me another one after she got out of prison saying that she really has a successful life with her child now, and just by bringing them back together. Little things like that. And I can remember a mother sending me a card over Christmas. It seems to always happen over Christmas, but over Christmas, thanking me for being a D.A.R.E officer. Her child is very successful, not got into drugs, and that's one of these things. They're going to do it or not do it, but these people on the fence, them are the people you want to hit to make sure they make a good decision. And that's the things I like to do, is try to make help people out with problem solving, and sometimes you just need somebody else to work with to solve that problem.
Does it feel like, and Shawn, I'll ask you this too, does it feel like from a societal aspect, we look at law as something almost like punishment, when really it's not supposed to be designed necessarily for punishment? You have to pay the price for breaking laws, certainly, but that price that you pay is supposed to teach you a lesson not to do it again.
You're supposed to correct behavior.
Right, exactly. Is that something that you guys feel like going forward here with justice, if you will, that is going to be more and more evident? Like, I'm sure that has been the case from day one, but it hasn't always been evident. Sometimes we've kind of focused, especially I'll think about myself as a kid in the 80s. I remember what it could be like and everything, and the way that the PSAs that would go around and different things like that. It was more about pointing the finger and talking down to you and yelling at you before you even did anything wrong. Whereas now, in talking with Shawn, I know how he feels about this subject, where it's more about, we're not, using kid gloves with anybody or anything, but it's more about, okay, you did this wrong. Why did you do this? And let's figure out how not to do it again. And this is your punishment for doing it, but not just smacking you on the hand, asking you why you did this as you smack them on the hand or what have you. Do you think that that's something that more and more as we go forward here that you're going to see more evidence of?
Exactly. And, mental illness, that's a big issue when it comes to why people do things. Yeah. And I hate to say this, but Wisconsin's on the bottom of the list as far as identifying and correcting and working with mental health. And that's the direction we're going. And Shawn has stressed that, pretty strongly, that that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and help people and correct them and get them programs and help to work with that things. And that, the old school, that's exactly how you did it. That's not how we do it now. Yeah.
Do you feel, and Shawn, we've talked about this at length as far as how you feel about that, but do you feel that this is going to be the way that we kind of like lower the numbers on some of these crimes and some of these bigger, more challenging things and everything, as we dive a little bit more into the problem instead of just trying to scoot the problem away or just throw it away in a locked cell and everything and not deal with it. Diving into that cell, diving into that mind.
Yeah, no, definitely, and Randy's exactly right. That's the initiative that we all took, and we were even, before a couple of years ago, the divisions that, Randy and I were overseeing, where Randy was, my supervisor, he was all in, on how we took the initiative to start training our deputies, different with the CIT training, and carry that through where, with the jail setting, we talked about the jail and what the needs are there. And with, the recent months, we've gotten a good opportunity to take a look at the programming that we were doing. Obviously, with COVID, we had to change some things as far as programming because we weren't allowing so many people to come in and out of our jail. But we're starting to see some good results with that. The people that went through some of the programs that we offered have not come back to our jail and reoffended any way, shape, or form, and they're still out in the community working hard. I know it's not easy, but they're still out there working hard with some of the tools that we gave them, and that's success. I mean, that's that saves on jail space, and we talked about what that cost is, and that's all a big part of the mental health approach that we're taking. That's probably the biggest thing that we looked at as a team to make some changes here, and where those impacts that can come out is truly, well, part of it is in our jail setting, and that's that investment in mental health, whether it's programming or having professionals back in the jail. That's something that we're all part of. And that's a great point that Randy mentioned, that we're all in. It's not just me. It's the team, and that's the initiative that we've been taking together with with our correction staff, or patrol staff, everybody, administrative staff, that moving forward, because I think that's where we can see some big changes and make a pretty big impact in the community.
And the layers to this approach have a long-term effect. They really do. They have such a huge, bigger societal impact than just smacking somebody on the hand and telling them not to do something again. It really does. It has a deeper, and you bring up the word investment, and I think that's such a perfect word to use for this, because even we all know, and I'm sure you guys know better than I do, there are going to be people that push back at this. Oh, you're being too soft, or something like that. Well, if you're looking at it that way, being hard didn't work. Being tough did not work. Where did that get us? That's part of how we're in the situation we're in now. So, I mean, you can't, what's the definition of insanity? We keep doing the same old thing and everything. We have to update. We have to change things up a little bit. And this is not completely a whole new format or anything. It's not like we're working on the honor system here or anything. Hey, you did something wrong. Now don't do it again. Now, it's not like we're doing that, but there is a layer here of way to treat people and how to treat your fellow citizens so that they can do what this whole system is designed to do. You mess up, you learn from it, you go back into society, and you put in what you took out. You put in more than you took out. You give back. You make this world a little better than when you got into it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I just got a couple points to make, then I will let you go. I know Randy's got some more things he'd like to talk about. I think a couple other people are going to call in, just maybe reminisce or just thank him for his his service. But Randy, you're a man of integrity. You're honest. You got all the compassion in the world. You're definitely a hard worker. I mean, people should know that when he comes to work, he doesn't leave until the work is done. And there's countless times that he spent after, putting in, 8 hours. He'll be there for 9, 10, even more, depending on what's going on. He's not somebody that is just going to put things aside. He's the hardest working person that I've ever had the opportunity to work with, and that should be noted. People should know that he is somebody that start to finish, he gets things done, and we're very, 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 very fortunate to have him in the capacity we have him now and throughout his career, and personally, Randy, and we're best friends, and I know I would not be in a position that I'm in now without you. Without the personal friendship and support that we've gone through, as I mentioned, as we mirrored our careers together. I'm lucky. I am so lucky to have had you part of our careers together, and that means the world to me. So I'm gonna let you go, but thank you, Randy, for everything. We got a couple more weeks where you have to put up with me. Sorry, but we'll have a good time, and I'll leave it to other people I think wanted to call in. But take care, James. Glad you enjoyed the card, and we'll talk soon. Okay?
Yeah, we're looking forward to talking to you real soon. You stay safe and strong out there. You take care.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we will take. It looks like we are getting some more calls in here and stuff. So what we're going to do is we'll take those when we come back from commercial break. Okay, Randy? We will be back with more with Chief Deputy Randy Dorshorst, Kev from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media here on Morning Magazine, AM 1320 WFHR. 20 here in Wisconsin Rapids, where you've got the morning hour. Your host, James J. Malouf here. We're joined by our friend Kev from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, and we have Chief Deputy Randy Dorshorst with us. Again, both of you, thanks for joining us. Randy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
We're going to take some more phone calls here. I believe there's some more people that want to wish you a good in retirement here. Good morning. You're on the Morning Magazine.
Hello, Randy. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Good. It's Lee.
I recognize the voice right away.
Who do we have joining us here?
I'm sitting on the woods just waiting to call you, and I just wanted to congratulate you on your retirement and the wonderful career that you had, and everything that Shawn said, I agree with. You and Shawn were two of the hardest working people I ever supervised, and I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but when I'd have young guys in who I was training and talking to them, and they'd ask, well, how can I get ahead in the sheriff's department? I would always tell them, just look at Dorshorst and Becker and do it how they did it, because they understood hard work and they understood doing things the right way, and it was really wonderful to have you guys there. But I can say this, I think I had a lot less gray hair before I started supervising you and Shawn on nights for those 5 years. That was exciting times then, boy.
Well, thank you, Lee. Lee was my first supervisor.
Okay.
So here at the Sheriff's Department, and I'm going to put it this way. He ran a good shift. He was great to work for. He was fair, and just a great man to work for.
Good guy, yeah.
Randy, I appreciate that, but guys like you and Shawn made the job a lot easier, made it better for me, probably made me look better. I'm going to hang up, Randy, but congratulations. I know other people want to call in and talk to you, but congratulations, and the people of Wood County should appreciate what a job you did for them. Good luck, buddy.
Well, thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee, for calling in for the time and for what you do for our community. We appreciate you. Let's go ahead and take another phone call here. Good morning. You're on the air with Chief Deputy Randy Dorshorst.
Hey, this is Quentin Ellis calling from over at the Sheriff's Department.
Hey, Quentin. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you. I just wanted to call and chime in for very briefly, if I could, about Randy and what he's meant to the department.
Yeah, please do. Thanks for joining us.
Sure. So Randy has, I've been fortunate. I've worked with, alongside, and for Randy my entire career here. He was actually my first field training officer at the Sheriff's Department. And I'll never forget, like, the first day he was training me, he said, I won't let you fail. And he's taken that approach with everybody at the department, and he's mentored me all the way through my career. It's been an honor and a privilege to have worked with Randy.
Well said, sir. That's brief, but right to the point, man. Well done. And thank you so much for the time and what you do for our community. We appreciate you. You have a great day. Be safe.
Thanks, James.
And take care. Very well said. I can't think of anything that if I was starting a job and somebody told me one phrase to tell me that I will not let you fail, that got me. That really hit me, because I'm going to actually steal that. Because honestly, when I think of people training people or doing anything, any job, I don't care what you're doing, that is one of the things you look for in leadership. Somebody that has got your back like that. It's incredibly more important, and it takes on different layers when we're talking about the job that you do and everything, certainly. And I actually wanted to touch on this earlier when Shawn brought this up. Because I think any of us can understand what it must be like to be able to trust your partner, to be able to trust the people that you're working with in law enforcement. There are certainly more times than not where it's a life or death situation. So you've got to have some kind of camaraderie, some kind of trust there with each other. One of the things Shawn brought up earlier that I thought was so interesting is having that bond, that relationship, and how that can really help as far as like solving cases and where to go with a case, like having that chemistry where you guys are on a similar page and everything, but you see things differently. The multiple set of eyes looking at a case, not just a cold case, but just a case in general, going from there with it. I didn't think about that part of it, but that has to play into things and be very helpful, I imagine.
It has. Shawn, for instance, I worked a number of cases with him between the two of us. What one didn't think of, the other one thought of. And we always had each other's back when, things weren't going right at a situation or something. You had to be good friends, and you had to think alike to solve things and work things out. And that helped a lot. It makes work that much great. I told my children, it's not about what the money you make, but you got to like what you're doing. I'd rather make half the money like where I'm doing than make twice the much and can't stand going to work. And I can actually say, working at the Sheriff's Department here, there's not one day that I can say, boy, I don't feel like going to work. It hasn't never been that way.
It's interesting. There's not a whole lot of parallels between what we do and everything, but you're saying it might as well have been me saying that, or Kev over here. What we do, we love. We're doing what we do. Not necessarily because we're trying to be Rockefellers here. We're not doing this for the money. We love what we do. We appreciate what we do. We understand that it's not only fun and it's a passion, but it's something that we're able to put back into our communities with. It's such a gift to be able to do, where you're making a paycheck, because we all got to make a living, but you also care and like what you do, and as an added bonus, you get to put back into your community. Like that's a really cool gift to be able to have in as a career. Not everybody gets to do that. It had to mean a lot to you, especially I see you looking back and stuff, as I imagine you're doing a lot of right now.
Yeah, quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
I always think of when we hired people, do you want the person that really wants to do the job but isn't quite that good at it? Or do you want the person that is really good at it but just has just is good at it but don't want to do it? Well, I want the person who really wants to do it, because they're going to get all that extra, and they're going to get there. They're going to get this as good as the person who is good at it. Yeah. And that's, if you don't want to do it, you're not going to be any good at it.
I asked you earlier about goals that you had when you came into the job. You were touching on a number of different things, the impacts that you were able to make in communities and the D.A.R.E program and such. How did those goals change once you got into the job and as you were into it 5 years, 10 years, as things went on?
I always kept looking ahead as to where I want to go, and I kept working for that. And they always say, where do you want to go and what do you want to give up to get there? I mean, there's my family has probably 18 years, probably had 5 Christmases together. And we just had to adjust our life. And my wife always said, if you really want it, we'll adjust our life. And we always did. And I gave up a lot to where I wanted to go. First, when you mentioned about where I wanted to go, first thing it brought to my mind is I never considered myself a very good interviewer. And I can remember my first interview at the Sheriff's Department. They asked, what are your goals? And I had a goal. One of the things I really wanted to do was be a patrol supervisor, a sergeant. That was my initial first goal. And I kept reaching farther, but that was my first thing I wanted to do. And you had to set an example, and you have to do a good job if you want to get there. So I can remember one of the questions in my interview was, what are your future endeavors? I mean, what do you want to do? And I said, well, what I really want to do is where one of my goals are. My first goal is to be a patrol sergeant. So we had one, Bob Lewandowski, who was he retired. He was an investigator there, looks at the sergeant and says, he wants your job. So that was, I can never forget that. It's like, do we really want this guy here now?
It's interesting too, because it's one of those things where it's you don't know until you're doing it sometimes, of how things are going to develop and what's going to mean something to you and that. And I imagine that while you have a lot of great intentions and goals once you start, going into a job, once you're actually doing it, you find that the other things that mean something to you and new passions and that kind of thing, or new things that drive you. You've done so many different things in this job. I could say you've worked in law enforcement just to kind of umbrella it, but there really isn't much you haven't done.
No, I've tried a little bit of everything. I worked in the jail for a while. I liked instructing, so I took on boater safety for a while. I instructed boater safety, and then I got it to be a firearms instructor, which I enjoyed a lot. And also with that, I was an armor for all our firearms at the department, and also a sniper for our SWAT team. And what was nice about that, I got to instruct at the department, but also I got the opportunity to work for Midstate. I was an instructor there for Midstate Technical College, where all the new recruits would come in, and I would get to meet all these kids who are just getting into law enforcement, really wanted to do this. I got to work with them, and that was really enjoyable too.
When it comes to training, when it comes to that sort of thing, and the next class of law enforcement that's coming in, people that are in the job currently, and people that are in the middle of graduating and going to be graduating, and that you see a lot of the youth, you see a lot of the young influence or the young people coming into this job. Does it bring you a lot of an encouragement going forward here? Because some of the things that you and Shawn believe in, and I know most of the people, if not everybody over there does, is behind. They're not traditional. They're not something that was always the way. Maybe when you guys first started was the way, the MO and the way it was taken care of. So when you look at the new people coming in, do you see more of that continued message? Do you have some encouragement with that?
Yes, I do, and it's different. It's different. It's kind of hard to say. This is the way we did things. Well, you got to listen to them because they have better ways to do things. They're probably more efficient than they are more efficient. We have a lot of smart recruits coming in, and it's nice to work with them because you like to get them in that mindset and that's never changed. This is our community. You want to invest in it, and part of investing is being part of the community, and that's treating people fairly, treating people how you want to be treated, because being a hard nose isn't going to get you anywhere. There's sometimes that we can just, hey, don't do that again. And that's all they need. That's all they need. It's all about correction. What do you need to correct that behavior? Sometimes you have to write a citation, which nobody likes to do. Other times, I can remember stopping these young kids and don't do that again. We've never had a problem with that again with them. And that's what you like to see. And you kind of want to mold them that way that, this is our community. You're going to work here. You're going to live here your whole career. Be part of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you only had to yell at me once. I'm pretty sure you had no. We're going to take a quick commercial break and come back with more with Chief Deputy Randy Dorshorst here on Morning Magazine, AM 1320 WFHR. It is 18 in Stevens Point, 19 in Marshfield, 18 in Wausau, and 20 here in Wisconsin Rapids. We've got Morning Magazine. We have our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media with us, Kevin, the gang, and, of course, Chief Deputy Randy Dorshorst with us. And Randy's going to be retiring at the end of the month, so we've been kind of doing a victory lap almost here with the show today. And it's been a lot of fun. I want to thank Sheriff Shawn Becker for joining us earlier and the calls that we've taken. If anybody else wanted to call in, please feel free to, 424-2600. We do have a handful of minutes left of show. In that time, Randy, I wanted to kind of just give you the stage. If there is anything you have wanted to touch on that, or maybe talk about that we haven't gotten a chance to.
Well, I'm not sure at this point.
Okay, go ahead and think about it, because we got a little time here. While you're thinking about that and everything, I again want to let people know if they wanted to call up, please feel free to. Looks like we may actually have a call here. Good morning. You're on the air with Chief Deputy Randy Dorshorst on Morning Magazine.
Good morning. I missed part of the program. I apologize if I am repeating myself, or repeating other people. I retired 10 years ago from the department, and I had the pleasure of working with Randy. And congratulations, Randy.
Well, thank you, Bob.
A wonderful career. And I just wanted to point out to the people of Wood County that they are losing definitely a great police officer and really one of the true good guys. And everything that Sheriff Becker said about him and everything, I just want to repeat. He was an inspiration to us all insofar as his attitude. And considering he held almost every position in the department, his background's amazing. So I just wanted to call and say hi and congratulations.
Well, thank you, Bob. I brought your name up earlier on the show, by the way, if you didn't hear it.
Oh, I missed it. I had to leave and go to a doctor's appointment for 15 minutes. That's what happens when you get old and retired.
Bob, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for everything you've done for our community. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Yeah, that was a good call. I think one of the telltale signs of that you not only you're good at your job and how much you care about your job, Randy, but how much people care about you. Not only what they're saying, but nobody has given their name, and you've known everybody by voice. You've known I'm not taking that lightly. That you really do care about people when you can catch them just by their voice, especially on the radio waves here, where it can change a little bit. That's really noteworthy. Let's go ahead and take another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air, Morning Magazine here.
Yes, I'm a county board supervisor working with the county board and working with Randy. That is great. I want to really miss him. I go to him for a lot of things with issues with the sheriff's department, and congratulations, and I hope you have a good retirement.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate that, sir. When it comes to retiring and walking away from this, first off, from what you were saying earlier, your wife has been very great about being adaptable and everything. So it does look like retirement's going to be more her. She's calling the shots a little bit more. She gets to be the head coach now.
She says she doesn't, but
she's kind of earned that. She's kind of well, yeah. It's a smart man right there. That's a smart man. But when you look at that, when I think of people like yourself retiring, I often think of all the stories I hear and people I have known where an officer retires, but they continue these cold cases that they look into and things like that. Why do you think that is, Randy? Why do you think officers, they never really leave the job?
No, and I think you go back to, I spent all this time, I want to give those victims, that closure, should I say.
Yeah.
I want to give them that closure, and I've never got a chance to do it. And they care about what they did so much and about those victims so much that they want to spend their career giving them closure. And that career could extend way beyond their actual employment. Mm-hmm. And we've so many we had here. When something ever comes, they'd always come back and say, "Hey, I can help you with this. I can help you with this." And I always felt the same way. And I said, when I leave, you don't need to pay me. You pay me enough years. You give me a job. You help me put my kids through college. You give me a home here. And the community did this to me. They all helped me out, and I think I owe that back to them, to give back to them, because they gave so much to me. I can remember a speech one time where a retiree says, "Thank the county board." And I say the same thing. Thank you for entrusting me. Thank you for employing me. It's just like, is it you owe me or I owe you? I owe you. You entrusted me. You employed me. You paid me reasonable. You helped put pay for my house, put my kids through college. And I want to give back. And that's one way, my way is saying thank you for what you've done for me.
Yeah, well said. I was all prepared to kind of wrap up the interview asking you what the most rewarding part of the job was. I feel like we've got that answer.
That is.
I feel like
exactly is.
Yeah.
The nicest thing I can always say is, everybody gets upset about in the county board. What is the county board? The county board is our community. They represent districts in there, and they're talking for our people. And if anything, I'd like to say to them, you've always treated me fair here. I can never say that at one point, no, you did this bad to me. No, they were very fair to me. And that's one thing I want to say thank you for. They always have been very fair.
It's one of those things that I think all of us owe anything, whether it's a job or it's just a friendship or just being a stranger to stranger, what we look for in life. Just treat people fairly. Treat people right.
Exactly the way you want to be treated.
And I another point that has really stood out to me in talking with you, Randy, that I appreciate. You are incredibly smart and talented and good at what you have been doing, and especially be able to say that when you work so many different jobs. That's impressive, man. But what has stood out to me so much is that even though you are very smart and you know all these things, you you realize you don't know everything. I feel like the smartest people I know in this world understand that they don't know everything. And another set of eyes can be very helpful. Along with that, are there other things, or what else would you say to like the upcoming people that are looking to get into law enforcement, the young class, the 2021 class, if you will, in that?
You know, I think Lee Garrell said it is, you know, what do you want to do? You know, watch with these people, how they do things. And if you want to get, I don't like to use this word, get ahead, but if you want to get ahead and progress your career, watch what the other ones did to make themselves successful. You know, don't think that you know everything, but because we don't. In the first 5 years, you just sit back and watch because they've done it and they've been successful what they did.
That's very helpful. And I think especially that latter part that you said there about sitting back and watching. We don't have a lot of patience when we get into a new job, and all of us do. We're hungry. We want to succeed. We want to do all these things. You gotta pause. You gotta take some time with that and everything.
And what are you willing to give up to get there? You know?
Yeah, that's such a key part of things too. And I caught that earlier when you said that. I was actually going to say to you off air. That was something that spoke to me personally, because that was something that I think a lot of us can relate to when we looked at the future and we're like, okay, I'm going to get into this. This is what I'm going to do, but I know that it's going to cost me this or something.
Exactly.
Understanding when you go into something like that, that's not an easy thing for a lot of people to kind of wrap their mind around. Randy, I cannot thank you enough, not only for the time today and putting up with me and hanging out with us and everything, but everything you've done for our community, for our citizens. We appreciate you so very much and wish you nothing but the best in retirement. And please do that word. You know, I understand you're going to still probably, put your foot in the water here a little bit and everything with this stuff, but do retire. Do enjoy yourself, okay? You've earned it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate the time. You take care and be safe out there.
Thank you very much.
And we will have more Morning Magazine for you tomorrow. We want to again thank Randy for joining us. Want to thank Sheriff Shawn Becker, all of the calls that we took today from all the great people, and of course our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Kevin, the gang, thank you for all the good work you do. Be back with more Morning Magazine for you tomorrow right here on AM 1320 WFHR.